Okay, so let's talk about something today that nobody really wants to talk about. And the reason they don't want to talk about it is because if most people actually understood the role of individual liberty and freedom and the role of the government and the police department on their individual lives, if they really actually understood that relationship and understood what it meant and how it works, there's a large percentage of the population of this country who would be scared to death. Yeah, they'd be scared to death because they don't understand what the job of the police is in our society, legally, constitutionally, what they can and can't do and what they're supposed to do. You know, again, we just had the shooting in Florida. Tragic, horrific event. And so there's a lot of emotions running high, and so people want to find solutions to these problems. And, of course, we're having the standard gun control debate. Let's ban military-style AR-15s. Well, a couple of facts that are just inescapable and you can't argue with. The AR-15 is not a military-grade weapon. It's not. It's a civilian-grade weapon. There is no military in the world that equips their troops with AR-15s. They don't do it for several reasons. And this is kind of off on a tangent, but I want to get it out here because it's foundational to the discussion that, you know, AR-15s have longer barrels by law than what military weapons have, which the shorter barrel allows for more concealment and it allows for more maneuverability, making the weapon more effective. Commercial AR-15s that you and I can buy are semi-automatic only, meaning you pull the trigger one time, one round comes out. Military-grade weapons have select fire. They have 3-shot burst, pull the trigger one time, 3 rounds come out, and fully automatic, pull the trigger, and rounds keep coming out until you let go of the trigger. The AR-15 does not have those features. Up until the 1930s, you could mail order a submachine gun. Thompson submachine gun. Mail ordered out of a catalog, delivered to your door. Since the 1930s, fully automatic weapons have been regulated and restricted. The AR-15 is not a military-grade weapon. No matter what you want to call it, no matter how hard you try, it's not. But, again, off on a tangent, but I had to get that one out there because I'm sick and tired of hearing that stuff coming from people who have no knowledge, no education, have never shot one. They don't understand it, yet they can tell us how to solve a problem that they don't understand. So let's help with some understanding and understanding why things happen the way they do and what we can do about it, what we can do to solve these problems. But in order to have that discussion, we have to understand how things are set up and why they work the way that they do. And today I want to address a very common misconception that the government and the police are here to protect us. Okay? Now, before anybody loses their mind and goes off the deep end, you know, after serving 30 years in fire EMS, I've gotten to know and work with a lot of police officers from all different departments, you know, in my area. And you will be hard-pressed to find a better group of individuals who are willing to stand up every day and put on a badge and a vest and go out into our streets and, based upon the confines of the law and the resources that they have, do their job to the best of their ability to try to keep our society safe so that things like Florida don't happen. But they have limits on them. They have the law and they have resources. So they can only operate within those limits. And the reason for that is because we are a society based upon freedom and individual liberty. And freedom and individual liberty is a very powerful thing. It can do so much good if you look historically at the things we've accomplished by being a free people and having the liberty to live our lives the way that we want to. But occasionally, and yes, I mean occasionally, someone abuses those freedoms and liberties that they have, and they make bad decisions. And they do things like the Florida school shooting. if you want to look factually, there were 17 young lives that were denied their future in the Florida shooting. And I'm not going to minimize that at all because it's a tragedy, and no one should lose their life. But if we really want to have outrage, we really want to look at what's killing our children, look at cell phones. 11 teenagers per day, every day, 365 days a year, die from texting while driving. That's a lot more than 17. That's a lot more than all the school shootings we've ever had in this country. So take the emotion out of it. Stop blaming the NRA. Stop blaming the politicians. And look at where the responsibility lies. That lies with us. Because we are the people who enjoy freedom and liberty. So let's just take a moment here to explore why this responsibility lies with us to solve these problems. As I said, this country is founded based upon the Constitution and the set of laws that we have at both a federal level, a state level, and a local level. Those laws are put in place to provide some structure to our society, because too much freedom and liberty without law could possibly lead to anarchy. So we need to have some guidelines. But we want those guidelines to be as unrestrictive, as the least imposing that we can make them, because the most important thing in this is the freedom and liberty that we all enjoy as individuals. So, when it comes to government and police departments, most people live in the world where they believe that the duty and responsibility of the police is to protect them and their families. And that's wrong. That is not true at all. The duty of the police department, legally and constitutionally, is to protect society as a whole. Not to protect you as an individual, not to protect me as an individual, not to protect my wife or my children. Protecting my wife and my children is my job. And it's my job to train them to be able to do that for themselves. Because the police have no legal or constitutional duty to protect you as an individual. Think about that and let it sink in. Once you realize that, once you understand that, now the Second Amendment comes into a little bit more focus. Because as free individuals who enjoy personal liberty, it is our job to protect ourselves. And that's what the Second Amendment is there for, to guarantee that you and I have the best tools available to accomplish that, to protect ourselves and our families. It's not about hunting. It's not about sport shooting. It's about the right to live. If the bad guy's going to have a badass gun, then you have the right to the same badass gun. That's just the way it works. So, most people are kind of going out, sitting out there right now going, wait a minute, you're wrong. The police, that's their job, to protect me. No, it's not. And that's been decided by the Supreme Court and the appellate courts throughout the history of this country, starting in the 1800s. I'll give you the three most recent cases. In 2005, the Supreme Court decided in the case of Castle Rock versus Gonzalez. You can look it up. Case number is 04-278. That the police do not have a duty or responsibility to protect you. Other cases that you can look up. Warren versus the District of Columbia. And DeShaney versus Winnebago County. DeShaney was 1989. Warren was 1978. And these decisions go back clear to the 1800s. It's not possible for the police to protect you as an individual. Think about it. Someone comes in and is doing something wrong. They're abusing their personal liberties and freedom and taking advantage of yours by committing a crime against you. You pick up the phone, you dial 911. 911 is a reactionary service. They don't do anything until you let them know that a crime is being committed. So all that time, from the start of the time when the crime was being committed until 911 can dispatch a police officer to get to you, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or longer, depending upon where you live, that crime's already happened. It's over. They've taken what they've wanted. They've raped, they've murdered, they've done whatever. And they're probably gone. So, this is where the police come in. Think about the process. You report the crime, the police show up. Obviously, if they can get there to stop the crime in progress, they're going to want to do that. They're good people. That's what they want to do. But they don't have the resources to do that all the time. So, they ask you questions. Give me the description. What happened? That way, they can find the person who committed this crime, effect an arrest, and take them off the streets so that they do not do it again to someone else. They can't turn back the clock on what happened to you. They can possibly prevent it from happening to somebody else, which is because their job is to protect society as a whole, not the individual. That's a key concept that you have to learn and you have to understand. Because if you don't, you can't take part in the discussion because you don't have all the facts and you don't understand how it works. So the police gather the evidence. They find the person. They arrest the person. They take him to jail. They turn the person and the evidence over to the legal and judicial system, where it's evaluated, was this person's actions in compliance or in violation of the law that we as society have set out. If they're found to not be in compliance with the law, then there's a punishment phase. That person is punished. Jail time, probation, fines, death, execution. That all depends. Depends on what the crime was, depends upon what the law reads, severity of the crime, so on and so forth. But the bottom line to this is the police are a reactionary force. Yes, they do try to prevent crime to the best of their ability, and they work hard. But they have limits. The law limits what they can do, and resources limit what they can do. So until the police can get there, you're on your own. And legally, you are on your own. Even once the police get there, they have no duty to protect you as an individual. Not legally. They have a professional code to protect the individual, but legally and constitutionally, they have no duty to protect you. So, protecting yourself is your responsibility and your first priority. Just like when someone makes a bad decision and abuses their freedom and liberties, that's their choice. Not the guns, not the cell phones, not the cars. It's their choice. So banning an item is not going to change this. The only thing that changes this is teaching people responsibility and teaching them to respect other people and to respect the freedom and liberty that we all live under. Nothing else will change this. Take away a tool, they pick up another tool. That's just the way that it works. But I would bet there are a number of people watching this video who had no idea that the police have no legal duty to protect them as an individual. Once you understand that, then you will see why the Second Amendment is important. Why we must be guaranteed to have the best tools available to protect ourselves and our families. Think about it. Study the cases. Then we can have an intelligent discussion on this.